Good morning, race fans. Welcome back to Toronto, Ontario, Canada for this year's Honda Indy on the streets of Toronto. This is going to be a fantastic day, qualifying and racing here today. Yesterday, of course, all just practice and qualifying, but how we'll start the day here is qualifying sessions for both USF 2000 and USF Pro 2000. The morning qualifying sessions will set the grid for the race we'll have on Sunday morning. The drivers had a chance to be on the racetrack yesterday, as we know. Practice and qualifying in the books for race number one. So today, everything they learned yesterday, they get to learn today before we go racing here this afternoon. It's going to be a beautiful day, great weekend. Chamber of Commerce weather here in Toronto. Looking forward to get things underway as, again, the drivers ready to roll on track. We'll go back-to-back with USF 2000 and USF Pro 2000. When we're done with these sections, the grids will be set for both double headers on the weekend. Thanks for joining us. It's time to go qualifying for USF 2000.
You can feel confident Continental is the smart choice in tires.
And to handle extremes?
Yep. Tested from the Texas desert to near the Arctic Circle.
Really?
Really.
Anything for the guy who finds that one pothole?
Yeah. Road hazard coverage has your back.
For real?
Absolutely.
Were they made by, like, a bajillion engineers?
Well, closer to 100. Continental. Welcome to the smart choice in tires.
Over the years, we've chased down a lot of dreams, each one leading to the next, all the way to our most electrifying dream yet. Introducing the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. Made to inspire the newest generation of dreamers so they can make their dreams reality. The all-new, all-electric Prologue from Honda.
Well, with one day of action already in the books, we are back at it here once again on the streets of Toronto. Hello, race fans. It's qualifying time. Two different qualifying sessions here as part of the event this weekend. For us, the Continental Tire Grand Prix of Toronto, USF 2000 drivers onto the racetrack. Practice and qualifying for race one yesterday. Qualifying for race number two. Now onto the racetrack. I think we'll say hello to those of you around the racetrack as the fans starting to file into the event venue here. And, of course, those of you at home watching on the USF Pro Championships YouTube channel or potentially using your mobile app to watch the action from wherever you are around the country and around the world, we say good morning to you. It is 67 degrees here trackside. Beautiful blue skies, and we're expecting a high in the likely low 80s, so it's going to be a gorgeous day here trackside. Chamber of Commerce weather throughout the entire weekend here, and alongside me here, myself, of course, Rob Howden, the voice of this USF Pro Championships presented by Continental Tire, the voice of the event itself, Mr. Todd Lewis. Todd, I had a lot of people message me on Wednesday when they saw video of essentially a foot of water flooding the back straightaway, Lakeshore Boulevard. I told everybody, it'll be fine, don't worry, record rainfall. It'll be good to go by the time we get here to the weekend. We have beautiful weather, but man, Wednesday was pretty crazy here.
Yes, it would have been boat racing on Wednesday. However, the sun is out. It's a beautiful day, as you mentioned. Cars are out on track for qualifying session number two for the USF 2000 series. Lots of activity yesterday. The quick times were at the end to be expected. I guess we'll look for a similar sort of activity here through our first 20-minute qualifying session of the day today. Max Garcia, can he sweep the weekend and take two poles?
Yeah, a point leader coming into the event. As we know, Max Garcia over Max Taylor and Sam Corey. That's your top three in points. Evagoras Papasavas and Joey Brienza still in mathematical contention to go after the championship. 5 more races still to go in the 2024 season. The doubleheader here in Toronto, and then a triple header as part of the finale weekend at Portland International Raceway at the end of August. But indeed, yesterday a practice session. Drivers that get a feel for this track. Many who have never been here to Toronto before. Into qualifying number one. And the interesting thing, we don't always have 2 qualifying sessions. Oftentimes we'll have only 4 sessions, official sessions on a weekend. Practice, qualifying in 2 races. And then, of course, at that point, the qualifying is for both races. This one, however, dedicated qualifying sessions, and it kind of puts a lot of emphasis, I think, on this particular qualifying session. Not only is it a qualifying session for race number 2, which will take place early, 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning, but, Todd, it's also another, essentially, practice session to continue dialing your car in for the race this afternoon. And, G3 Ardros in the number 63, almost stuck it in the wall coming out of turn number 10. How about that? That was a tank slapper into the final corner, turn 11.
Just trying to get as much speed as he can out of the car, and that's what I was just going to ask about, is how different is the track this morning? After they left yesterday afternoon, we had Indy cars on track, Radicals on track. There's a lot of different activity, plus the overnight dirt, moisture, whatever is around. It's going to feel very different than when they left the track yesterday afternoon.
I think the beauty of a street circuit like this, and any course we go to, but primarily on the street circuits, which, as we know, 362 days out of the year aren't racetracks. They're actually just city streets. This track will evolve throughout the entire weekend. The way that track's going to be all day today, all the different cars that'll go out there. Of course, Radical Cup raced last night. IndyCar was on the track as well. They'll do a bunch of on-track action. Every time these guys roll back out, more rubber is going to be going down. Of course, the first session yesterday, just to feel out any of the evolutions to the track, the improvements they made in parts of the racetrack. But yeah, you're right. This morning should be more grip than there was yesterday. Although yesterday as well, remember, they qualified in the high heat. I think it was 81 degrees yesterday. It's 67 degrees. So we're talking about 14, 15 degrees difference in terms of the temperature of the racetrack.
That's a noticeable difference. Looking back now and here towards corner number 1, this is an area that caught a few drivers out, but not as much as corner number 8 did yesterday. Seems there were a number of different drivers that got turned around. Some got hard into the wall in just about every series that raced on the track here yesterday. Corner 8 seemed to be the tricky one just because you have to hit that apex properly. There's a bump as you exit corner number 8. If you miss it, it could be very bad news.
I think we were the only ones not to stick somebody in the wall on the outside of turn number 8. Our guys did pretty well there. There's a bump transitioning into the corner, and then we kind of roll over top of what is a welded down, water main cover, or the cover coming through the corner there, and the car settles. It hits down hard. The drivers have to be very smart coming through there. As the car gets super unsettled, and you got to make sure you don't look at the wall. Right? You go where your eyes go, and if you're looking at the wall, you're going to go to the wall.
Just past 5 minutes in, and we're still waiting for some particularly quick times. Everybody's in kind of the 1:15s area right now, but we'll see these times improve as we get a little bit later on. Again, tires get up to temperature, the pressures are exactly where you want them, fuel burns off just a little bit. That's the right combination for the quickest times.
The fastest time yesterday was a 1:13.2. I don't know that we'll get down to that time because of the cool air. The engines love the cool air, but the grip level will be a little bit decreased because of that. We'll see whether or not they start laying times down. Again, the other thing to mention as well, normally we have a 30-minute window for qualifying, and then within that 30-minute window, we offer a max of 20 minutes of green flag. So if you go green to checker in a 30-minute window, it's only 20 minutes of qualifying. This is just a 20-minute qualifying session. That is it. So if we do have any kind of a red flag, if anybody has any kind of issue, you're going to lose time. So really, they got to get out there and get on it quickly. And Max Garcia, who was P1 yesterday with a 1:13.241, the Florida driver for Pabst Racing, top of the charts as well here. A couple laps into the session, 1:14.934 for Garcia. Joey Brienza up into second. He'll drop down to third as Garcia's teammate Max Corey moves up. We saw, Todd, you and I often talk about the fact that we don't throw a lot of times out early because every time we say what the top 5 or top 10 is, it's going to change midway through that lap. But again, as I tried to go through the top 3, at one point it was the Pabst cars 1, 2, 3. Now they're 1, 6, 8 in the matter of a lap. They moved around. Evagor's Papasavas up into second. Nicholas Giafoni's looked good here as well. Giafoni, his first time here at Toronto, won the USF Juniors Championship last year. They don't run street circuits, so his first time here on the streets of Toronto, and has been looking good, coming off a podium finish at Mid-Ohio as well.
Nice for him. I wanted to ask you, too, a little bit different this weekend, as you mentioned, with 2 qualifying sessions for USF 2000 as well as USF Pro 2000. That means the team's going to manage the allotment of tires just a little bit, as we're watching a little wheel banging going into corner number 3 and one car down going
I think that was the number 8 going off there. That might have been Michael Costello, who kind of got hung out to the outside, had to take the escape route at the end of the back straightaway. But again, back to the tires. So essentially, we essentially offer them 1 extra set of tires over top of the amount of races. So if we have a triple header, it's 4 sets of tires. Double header, 3 sets of tires. So you have to roll out for qualifying 1 with brand new tires. Because of the shortened sessions, nobody's coming in to put fresh rubber on in the middle of a session. So essentially, for this session here, are people going out potentially on sticker tires? Maybe not. Some may go out on stickers. Some may hold that sticker for a race later on today or on Saturday. So there's a little bit of strategy getting played. A number of guys can take different approaches to it. It depends on where you want. If you got a good car, you think you can go quick on scuffs, then you'll do it. If you need that fresh rubber for a driver to do the best they can, you may burn up a set here. Because again, how many laps are we getting in, right? 10, 15 max, depending on if there's a bit of an issue. I know we went as high as 18 laps, but that was a 30-minute practice. So only 20 minutes, you're probably only going to get 10 to 12 laps in.
And you mentioned that the tires are very consistent throughout the run, whether it's a practice session, whether it's and of course through the race pace as well.
One of the big wrinkles in this year's Toronto race is we're here on different tires. For many years we were here with Cooper tires. Now a long-term partnership with Continental. Tire a little bit softer. The drivers absolutely love this tire, and I talked to a couple of them. They said the extra grip that they have rolling out here into Toronto, it made the car a lot more comfortable to drive.
Just getting towards the halfway point of this session, and it is very close up near the top. 1:13.3 for Evagor's Papasavas. Just took over top spot from Max Garcia, Sam Corey, Elliott Cox, and Max Taylor, the top 5 right now.
So again, significantly cooler than it was yesterday, but with the grip down, as we said, with more grip going down from the IndyCar rubber as well, plus the fact that the engines love the cooler air, we're actually very close to where we were yesterday at 1:13.2, now 1:13.3. I wasn't sure if we'd get down that far, but the drivers have done a great job 9 minutes into this session. There's the 8 of Costello coming through. There's the 92 of Eddie Beswick, the current point leader in the Australian Formula Ford Series. A bit of a break in the action for Australian Formula Ford. Eddie decided to come over and kind of have a shot here at USF 2000. Hopefully we'll see him with a full season next year. He's done a tremendous job over the 2 sessions yesterday. A very tidy day. Ended up 10th for qualifying for race number 1, so right in the middle of the pack in your debut with Exclusive Autosport. I think Eddie's done a great job so far. I know a lot of people down in Australia are watching the coverage here this weekend.
That's a great way to start your weekend here on the streets of Toronto. If you're coming in, it's a new car, it's a whole new series. You've got a lot to learn and absorb quickly. So he took his time through the practice session, started to gradually build up to speed. Same thing with the qualifying. Didn't try to go out and set a heater right away. Took his time, built up speed, and as you mentioned, qualified 10th for race number 1 later on this afternoon.
What can you expect? He's a leader in the Australian Formula Ford category. I'm a big Formula Ford fan, and I know that if you can hustle a car like that around and get that thing sliding like you do with a Formula Ford car, to be able to come here and slide the car around, decently comfortable with that. You stack on a bunch of aerodynamics as well, the downforce that he had to get comfortable with, and he's done tremendously well. He did get a chance to test at Autobahn before coming here to Toronto, so a little bit more advantage of, let's say, a Glenn Van Berlo, who a Porsche driver who's racing for Pabst in USF Pro 2000. Never been in the car before, and he jumps in it here at Toronto. New driver up top with a 113.159. Currently second spot in USF 2000, or USF Juniors. I quickly wanted to pick that up. You saw Max Garcia, the Pabst racing team, actually bringing him into pit lane. Looks like they're going to change tires. I wondered if anybody would do it. It's a short session. They're actually bringing him in. So Garcia, who's P3 right now, they just brought him back in to put fresh rubber on. So Garcia coming out with sticker Continentals. We'll see how that plays out. Back to Liam McNeely. Second place in points right now in the USF Junior Series. The driver out of England for Jay Howard Driver Development. Coming off a win at Mid-Ohio. Moving himself up to second, as I said. 2 wins on the season. As there's a sticker shot there. That's Sam Corey. So looks to be like Pabst Racing bringing all 3 of their drivers in to put fresh rubber for the second half of this session. That's, again, they put the banker laps in. Garcia 3rd, Corey now 4th, Hudson Schwartz 7th. So they put in their banker laps, solid. Let's come in. See, if a red comes out now, they're in trouble, but those tires are going to be good for the race. But still, over 8 minutes remaining with a shortened lap. This isn't like a Road America where it's a big long lap. I'm being told there's that red flag I just talked about. Turn 10, hard impact. That is the number 7 of Jace Bacon. Bacon has made contact coming through the 9-10 combination into the wall in the Jay Howard machine. The AMR IndyCar safety crew will be out there momentarily to get him, but that is a red flag. And there, what did I say? So Garcia, Corey, Hudson, all just went in for fresh rubber. It's actually not going to hurt them. They were able to clean the tires off a little bit in this session. We'll see how much time they're going to have at the end, but they're going to be able to go out and put the hammer down. Here comes the IndyCar safety crew. Bacon again into the wall for Jay Howard Driver Development. That is in turn number 10, a very tough part of this racetrack. We're going to have a look at the replay, folks. Again, it's the left-hander through 9, and then you're kind of coming around along the radius turn number 10. You'll likely just lose the end of the, no. Well, we're going to look at this again. That's hard impact into the wall there, and the tire actually coming right off, because I'll tell you what you're going to see if you look back when we see this replay again. So look at the big board. When we bring that replay back up, look at the right front tire. I think he hits the inside wall, damages it, and then goes around. So watch the side there, the right front tire. He's going to hit the inside, already off the ground.
Good catch. You're right. It just, if you look at it just quickly, you say, oh, maybe you just swapped the back end, but no, that was an impact with the right front tire, sent him spinning, and then hard contact into the outside wall as the IndyCar safety team, the AMR IndyCar safety team, on site to clear that issue up. Now everybody will come to pit lane. Wonder if others might try to do the tire swap now. That we might have a couple of minutes. It'll all depend on how much time we have for green flag laps when we get back out, but hopefully they can clear this quickly. If you get 2 or 3 laps in, those tires should be able to come up to temperature.
He hit hard there, and again, as I looked at it again, I'm wondering whether or not, so that happened in turn number 10. I wonder whether or not he might have hit, coming through turn 9, did he hit the left rear? Because as you see the car coming through the corner, it's already squatting down on the left rear like he might have broke the suspension there. So because it's the turn 9's the left-hander, then you have the sweeping turn number 10, which is the right-hander. It almost looks like that tire's up in the air because he's hurt the left rear, not the right. So a lot of options of what could have happened there. But regardless, as the car rotates around, he makes hard right-side contact on the barriers there, the concrete that separates the corner from pit lane. So hard impact for Jace Bacon, the driver in the number 7 for Jay Howard Driver Development at Gilbert, Arizona. Again, a rookie in the program here. Red flag is underway. So again, here's the one thing about it. You can't work on the cars under red flag. So if indeed they do want to change tires, the minute we go back to green, that's when the teams can go to work. So you can't work on the cars right now. 5.5 minutes still remaining. And again, hopefully Jace is going to be fine. Obviously, there was hard impact, as we said. The AMR IndyCar safety team was there very quickly. They'll be able to get Jace out of the car and potentially get that car up on the hook so we can go back to green flag racing.
They'll immediately start to assess the damage because USF2000 cars return to action this afternoon. Green flag for their race number 1 here at the Ontario Honda Dealers Indy Toronto is 12:40 this afternoon. So a few hours to turn that car around. Hopefully it's just some suspension damage, swap out some parts, put the new ones on, and get that car back and ready to go. But yeah, we talked a little bit about corner number 8 and how challenging and difficult that was. Once you finish negotiating that, then you get into the area where Jace Bacon went around. It's that combination of 9, 10, and then the left-hander 11 to come back out onto the front straightaway is very tricky.
I think that's probably the toughest combination on the racetrack because, turn 1, hard braking, you roll to center. Same thing with 3. You get on the hard braking, you just get the thing to turn. You look in the right way. The car goes where your eyes go. You drive back up through 3 over to 4. It's that combination. Same thing with 8. Just a hard braking corner, got to carry the speed. This combination of 9, 10, and 11 where you're really transitioning in. The track is a little interesting coming through turn number 10 for sure. And then back through turn 11 where we saw cars really dancing on the absolute ragged edge, coming there, getting as close as they could to the wall on the outside of the corner. So indeed, that tough complex 9, 10, 11 caught at least one driver out here, and it's Jace Bacon to bring the red flag out here with just over 4 minutes remaining in the session. Let's say we don't go back to green flag because the cleanup is taking too long. All of these drivers hoping to go back out. That will put Liam McNeely on the pole with a 1:13.159, quicker than the fast lap laid down by Max Garcia. But more importantly, this is Liam McNeely, his rookie weekend here in USF 2000, one of the front runners for the championship in USF Juniors, the British driver for Jay Howard Driver Development. It would be an all Jay Howard front row as they sit right now with Liam McNeely on the inside, Evagoras Papasavas on the outside for our 3rd straight front row lockout on the weekend. So USF 2000 was Max Corey and Max Garcia and Sam Corey. That's the front row. All Paps racing for USF 2000 race 1. USF Pro 2000 is all turn 3 motorsports with Danny Dashelski and Lockie Hughes. And indeed, it'd be the 3rd different team with a front row lockout if indeed we don't go back. With only 3 minutes to go, I don't know whether or not these guys are getting out there or not. But yeah, Liam McNeely and Evagoras Papasavas would be the front row if indeed this is the way it stands here at the end of this session.
Oh, nice for a rookie to come into Toronto. Yes, the benefit of the red flag coming out just after he had turned the quickest lap of the morning at a 1:13.1. But to come here, show up, and get a pole for your first-time visit to Toronto, that's a big deal.
So here's the thing, right? A lot of drivers will say, okay, I want to make a move up. I'm a juniors driver. Not often do you pick this particular track, Toronto, as your debut for USF 2000. It is a difficult racetrack, but Liam's such a talented driver, multiple winner last year in the GB4 category. This is a good look. Let's jump on this real quick. 2 minutes remaining. There comes the car of Bacon. You can see the damage to the right front, hard impact into the barriers there. Can they go back to green? Can we get this going again? It would be 2 laps. You think about, Todd, them leaving pit lane right now. They'd almost have to leave pit lane at about 1:30 to be able to get back around to get that one more lap in, because if they leave with only a minute remaining, there's no sense, because by the time you get back to the timing stripe, the checker flag's already going to come out. So the crew, AMR crew's getting back. Again, like I said, we're about 17, 20 seconds away. Engines firing on pit lane. We're going to get a 1-lap flyer. So Liam McNeely is not locked and loaded yet as the pole. This is super close. They're going to have to get all the way back around. Now remember, it's only 8 corners of the 11, so it's not a full, a minute and 13 seconds at speed. This is going to be super close for these drivers getting back out. Now, one thing, nobody's going to be able to change tires. That's for sure. There's no time for that. You're literally going out with what you've got. And it looks like we're waiting for that green flag to fly. It's going to be very tight getting back around. They're just making sure, again, they have to make sure that all the AMR IndyCar safety crew and their vehicles are back in position. We're coming down to the point right now that I don't know that we're going to be able to get across. So, okay, there you go. Just getting the update here, folks, from race control and from production, that they're going to extend the session long enough to get 1 timed lap. So here they go. Everybody pulling back out onto the racetrack. Big jump for the VRD drivers there. That was the 3 of Max Taylor and the 2 of Thomas Schrag. They got out there really quickly. So you're going to get 1 timed lap. So now that that's the key, you don't need to be in a group here right now. This lap here is when you need to space yourself. And there are some drivers with fresh tires. Remember, the Paps guys came in just before the red flag came out. So Schwartz, Garcia, Corey, all with fresh rubber. And this is actually playing really well for them, because they're not going to put too many laps on the tires. They're going to be great for the race still, right? They're going to have 1 heat cycle, but they're going to have good tires potentially here for a 1-lap flyer. 1:13.1, Liam McNeely, the time to beat.
Best thing they should do is those Paps drivers just lay back, give yourself lots of room, take your time, warm those tires up thoroughly, and then get that 1 flyer in. That's going to be your best shot to get them.
There was a bunch of drivers I think probably would have found some more speed late in that session. We talked about Eddie Beswick. He's further back. He's 16th right now. Joey Brienza was back in 10th. Thomas Schrag 11th. Nicholas Giaffoni all the way back in 12th. These are drivers that we saw show some speed in practice and qualifying. So you need 1 more lap, and this is through turn number 8. This is where the alternate timing line is. So again, they are now on the flyer. This will be a good idea to see who's kind of locked in here. How much tire temperature have you got it? You see a couple of drivers really struggling coming through turn number 8. They did not get enough tire pressure temperature, and that was tough too. And listen, that's something you got to learn, Todd, is on that 1 lap, how much tire pressure and how much temp can you get in your tires?
This is another learning experience for these drivers, as you mentioned. You've got 1 lap, you've got 1 opportunity, 1 chance. What do you need to do on those 8 corners to get ready for that 1 lap? Some of them are learning very quickly here.
Current Fast 5, Liam McNeely, Evagores Papasavas, Max Garcia, Sam Corey, and Quinn Armstrong. The Aussie for D-Force Racing up into 5th spot right now. He'll start 12th in race number 1. So indeed, checker flag has come out. They'll see it when they go to turn number 8. Does anybody have the ability to put 1 lap in? A lot of drivers stacked up behind each other coming out of turn number 3 over to 4. This is turn number 5, the CAA corner. And here they come. What do we get? Who is going to be the driver to potentially pull 1 out? It's super tough. Did they get enough heat into their tires? Out of turn number 7, McNeely, Papasavas, Garcia, Corey, and Armstrong. They'll come to the alternate timing line, and we'll see what happens. Max Taylor goes up to 7th. G3 Argyros improves up into the 8th spot. Again, coming across the line, no one able to challenge Liam McNeely as of yet. Again, 1 lap dash at the end of this one. Eddie Beswick gets 1 more spot. He'll go to 15th. Tough one for Eddie. I think he needed a couple more laps to get back into the top 10 like he had for race number 1. McNeely still holding on to the position. There comes a couple of the D-Force cars across the line, as well as Elliot Cox. He does go quicker. He'll go up to 8th for Cox in the 67. Again, waiting to see if anybody else gets pace. Brady Golan goes faster. He's 18th. Otherwise, everybody pulling into pit lane. And I believe it's going to be another front row lockout. Jay Howard driver development this time. Liam McNeely on the pole, the USF 2000 rookie. The British driver P1 in the number 9 at 113.159, almost 0.2 of a second quicker than his teammate Evagoras Papasavvas. But again, Papasavvas in the championship fight here. Max Garcia, your point leader, third. He'll start on the pole for race 1 later today, 12:40 start time. 8 o'clock in the morning for these drivers tomorrow morning. Sam Corey alongside, so it's Jay Howard driver development on row number 1. It'll be Pabst Racing on row number 2. Quinn Armstrong alongside Evan Cooley on row number 3. Great weekend so far for Evan Cooley. He'll be P6 for both races today and tomorrow. Max Taylor, another driver in the championship fight. He's 7th alongside Elliott Cox. And G3 Argyros and Hudson Schwartz end up rounding out the top 10. Interesting qualifying for sure. A little trouble there for Chase Bacon. We hope he's okay after that hard impact on the wall in the exit of turn number 10. But nonetheless, the driver of the hour right now is Liam McNeely. Here's the remainder of your qualifying. Joey Brienza and Thomas Schrag, row number 6. It'll be Nicholas Giaffoni alongside Bacon on row 7, but he'll lose a fast lap, I believe. He'll fall down the order a little more. Michael Costello and Eddie Bestwick on row number 8. Carson Eder and Brady Golan, row 9. And Maxwell Jameson and Lucas Facuri round out the 20 drivers we'll have on the field. This is, of course, the grid for Sunday morning at 8 a.m., bright and early. But these drivers here will be back, Todd, at 12:40. Just over 3 hours from now, they get to go racing.
That's a busy time for these teams and these drivers to get these cars prepared and ready to race for the first of 2 this weekend. You've got rookie racers activity between now and then as well. Everybody's going to be very busy.
No doubt. Our paddock will be buzzing for sure. If you're watching on the stream here on the USF Pro Championships YouTube channel or the app, don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to stay live on this broadcast. We're going to be back, as we know, the U.S. drivers of USF Pro 2000 getting set to go. They'll be on track next for their qualifying session.
Hey race fans, it's Scott Dixon.
You can feel confident Continental is the smart choice in tires.
Can they handle extremes?
Yep. Tested from the Texas desert to near the Arctic Circle.
Really?
Really.
Anything for the guy who finds that one pothole?
Yeah, road hazard coverage has your back.
For real?
Absolutely.
Were they made by like a bajillion engineers?
Well, closer to 100. Continental. Welcome to the smart choice in tires.
Over the years, we've chased down a lot of dreams, each one leading to the next, all the way to our most electrifying dream yet. Introducing the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. Made to inspire the newest generation of dreamers so they can make their dreams a reality. The all-new, all-electric Prologue from Honda.
It's a fresh start. It's a career's on the line. It's a great chapter. I think everybody's goal is to win a championship.
All this year is playing together, making a good championship season out of it.
The reason to keep me alive and the reason to keep me pushing.
I mean, a lot since I can keep going up the ladder.
All those champions and wanting to become part of that list.
The drivers are racing aggressive with me, I'll race aggressive with them.
The scholarship is incredibly important. It's obviously the goal for every driver.
I'm going to rewrite what happened last year in terms of that rivalry with him getting the best of me.
When you win a race, it's the best feeling ever.
Field is stacked.
Hopefully this year we can have good luck.
Having the scholarship money to move up next year is really all I'm aiming for.
So USF 2000 drivers wrapping up their qualifying sessions. The grids are set for both race 1 and race 2. Max Garcia will be on the pole for race number 1. The Brit Liam McNeely for Jay Howard Driver Development on the pole for race number 2 in his debut weekend here in the USF 2000 category. Great job for Liam McNeely. In USF Pro 2000 for race 1, a strong effort yesterday for Danny Dashelski and Lockie Hughes. Turn 3 Motorsports have been very quick this year on the 2 temporary street circuits. Of course, down at St. Petersburg, Hughes had the pole. Dashelski was on the outside of the front row. It's 3 straight front row starts for both of those drivers. Dashelski on the pole position of the 16-year-old driver, a 1:10.635. Drivers now rolling out here. 17 in total here for the USF Pro 2000 category. A couple of drivers not able to be here due to budget restraints. You often see that at the end of the season, a driver who may not be in the championship fight electing to kind of cap things off, save a bit of that budget for off-season testing to come back the following year. One driver had a bit of an issue with getting their visa in position as well. Nico Baptiste from Colombia not able to be here, but we'll see him back at Portland, so they'll get that dialed in. Otherwise, we are ready to go at it once again. Another 20-minute session, a shorter session than our normal 30-minute windows where we do allow for 20 minutes of green flag running. This instead just a short 20-minute session, so those initial laps, those banker laps are crucial. We saw that, Todd. Again, my name's Rob Haddon, folks, the voice of this USF Pro Championship. If you're just tuning in, the voice of the Indy Toronto event. Todd Lewis joining us here as well, an esteemed motorsports reporter and voice here in Canada. Todd, we saw this in the USF 2000. They had 20 minutes, but you had to get that banker lap in. Liam McNeely getting lucky because over those last, I think, 5 minutes of that session, somebody could have attacked on him. He was quick to go good in the middle of the session.
So important to manage your time and resources effectively during these short sessions. We saw some of the drivers in the USF 2000 come in, make the tire switch. Didn't play out for them because of the red flag that we have, but we'll see what happens here. Again, get that good lap in, assure yourself of at least a reasonable starting position before you start to think of maybe going a little further with it.
Front 3 rows for race number 1, which will take place at 4:15 this afternoon. Dashelski and Hughes on row 1, all Turn 3 Motorsports, as I had mentioned. Simon Sykes alongside his Pats Racing teammate Jace Denmark on row 2. And Glenn Van Berlo and Liam Skeets from TJ Speed on row number 3. Van Berlo subbing in for Christian Brooks, who is now electing to totally focus on his move to the Indy Next Series. 3 top 10s in those events for Christian Brooks. But Van Berlo, a driver who's come early in his career through open wheel formula, Spanish F4, Euro Formula Open, but more recently a top Porsche driver, both in the Europe and over here in the USA as well. And man, he was, I think, for me, the story of the day yesterday. Other than Dashelski's pole, here's a guy that has never driven one of these cars before, this Tatis USF Pro 2000. He's never been to Toronto before. Now, the team gave him a great car. Paps Racing, as we know, won the championship last year, both the driver and the team championship in this category. But he showed his maturity and poise, coming out, taking care of the car in practice, getting more and more comfortable, and then qualifying P5. The Dutch driver who's never been here, never been in that car, to go P5, amazing.
Talent is one part of it. You said maturity, and I think professionalism is maybe another good word to describe. Just this is the methodical approach. If I'm going to learn as much as I can in the first part of the sessions before I really start to go fast. Understand this is a different street circuit. It has very different characteristics than road circuits that you would have raced on before. You're surrounded by concrete. If you make a mistake, it could cost you big time. Let's learn as much as you can before starting to really pick up speed.
And think about the fact that he is one of the leading Porsche drivers right now in the world, right? That a lot of people are watching. Going from that tin top, that car with a lot more top body weight, a lot of our body roll, higher center of gravity to get back behind the wheel of an open wheel formula car and pick it up so quickly. We'll see how Van Berlo does here. And again, opening up with this championship, Lockie Hughes will start on the outside of the front row for race number 1. He is your point leader, a significant point lead of 26 markers over Nikita Johnson. Johnson, of course, the young Florida driver coming off back-to-back wins, a sweep of the action of the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course a couple of weeks ago. Last week, running in GP3, he was able to score a victory there in the reverse grid race number 3. So Johnson's having a lot of success. He's there right there in the number 17 for VRD Racing. A lot of eyes on Nikita Johnson after a strong start to the season. Jace Denmark, 3rd place in points. Christian Brooks, 4th. Liam Skeets, another rookie, in 5th. We mentioned that Brooks has elected to end his USF Pro 2000 campaign for this year, so remove him from the championship discussion. So really, it's Hughes, Johnson, and Denmark, and maybe Liam Skeets on the outside looking in. Liam would have to have a big weekend here and at least one victory, I think, to get himself back in the fight with only 4 more races to go.
And that's the trick. We'll see. We'll start to see if that's going to be a realistic expectation or not, with race number 1 coming up a little bit later on today. That'll wrap up our Saturday here on the streets of Toronto. And just like that, we're through 5 minutes of this qualifying session with see if that car is moving slowly or deliberately trying to create space.
I think that was Frankie Mossman. I think he's trying to create some space. He's trying to give himself a gap. I believe he was right behind Sean Rashid. Sean was 17th. He's a driver, full-time driver for GB3. He ran St. Petersburg. He's back for the first time here in Toronto, the American driver for VRD Racing. So I think Mossman was just trying to give himself some room. He qualified 13th, but they had an issue with the car. He only got a couple of laps and they couldn't get the car started on pit lane. So Mossman looking to try to rebound because he had, I believe he was 5th or 6th, I think, in practice on Friday morning. So expected a lot more from qualifying. So he'll need to give himself room. There's Mossman there coming out of turn number 11, full on the throttle. There's the 7 of Mac Clark. Big weekend for Mac. He's going to join us later today. He'll be in the booth with us as our driver analyst for USF 2000. But again, Todd, you understand this. You've been the voice of this event for many years now. If you're a Canadian, especially if you're from Ontario, he's from nearby Milton, 45 minutes from the downtown track here. This is a big weekend for him.
Huge weekend. He was with us for our pre-event media press conference. Actually arrived a little bit late because he was at another event, and it took him a little longer than expected to get here, but arrived. He had another event on Thursday night, even before the on-track activity started. He had guests at the event. He has guests here all weekend, and potential partners, people that are keeping an eye on him and watching his career. There are a lot of people that want to help him move forward in his career, but the opportunity is there. He has to produce now.
That's the number 19 of Glenn Van Berlo, the Dutchman who is making his first ever start here in Toronto. Right behind him, coming into turn number 8, was the 44 of Lockie Hughes, and Lockie wisely getting out of it. Because he was able to get through turn 8, he puts a lap down, a 1:10.192. So he goes P1. Lockie goes P1. Excuse me. Instead of trying to push there, realize, hey, I got to give this next lap up. Checks up way up. You can see how far back he is now. Matthew believes his teammate Danny Jashelski right behind him. So indeed, give themselves a lot of room coming through, and it is, that's Jashelski right there. So they gave a lot of room, give themselves some stuff, and then get back at it for the remainder of the lap. So a really veteran move there for Lockie Hughes, who has won a number of championships coming up through his career, and indeed in the driver's seat right now for this title. It would give him that scholarship worth over $680,000 to move up to Indy next in 2025.
Cooler temperatures this morning than yesterday, and we're starting to see these times drop a little further. We have a number of drivers. It looks like we have 10 drivers already under the 1:11, and the tire changes.
Yeah, so Pabst Racing did this midway through the session in USF 2000. They put their banker laps in. Chase Denmark P1. Looks to me like all 3 drivers coming in. Denmark, Van Berlo, and Sykes all coming in now to pit lane for Pabst Racing. And I think I saw the turn 3 drivers coming in as well. Frankie Mossman's into pit lane already as well. Van Berlo's into pit lane too. As we said, who else is in there? One of the cars from turn 3 is in as well. Tyke Durst in the 33. He's coming as well. So we're seeing some strategy here in this session. Drivers trying to put some fresh rubber on, get a feel for the car. We talked about how much the track changes throughout the weekend. IndyCar's been on track. It's a lot cooler. We know that now than it was in yesterday's qualifying session. But the engines love the cool temperature, and the more rubber goes down, the more grip. So the car's in ideal conditions. We went quicker in USF 2000 than they did yesterday, so we may see the same thing here. Jashelski did a 1:10.63. We're already down to 1:09. So we're 0.7 of a second quicker than yesterday.
And more cars coming into pit lane to employ that strategy as well. Not quite at the midpoint of this 20-minute session, but looks like everybody's going to try and give that quick tire change a go for the final run here and pick up a little more speed.
Let's have a look at the almost the midway point here now. 9 minutes down, 11 still to go. Nikita Johnson now goes on top of the 1:09.973, the only driver to break the 1:10 mark at this point. Chase Denmark in second, Lockie Hughes third, Simon Sykes is fourth, and Danny Jashelski P5. Liam Skeets sits sixth. Alessandro De Tullio on only his second race here in USF Pro 2000 debut 2 weeks ago at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Alessandro from Florida for BN Racing, currently the number 2 ranked single-speed kart racer in North America. This kid is a fantastic driver, full-time karting for Inter MS, a fantastic fantastic team based out of Florida. They also have a team in USF Juniors, and DeTulio in that number 78 machine for BN Racing ran in the USF Juniors program 2 years ago in 2022. Got a couple of wins there, running for VRD Racing. Wasn't able to get the title, didn't get the scholarship, so back into karting. But then has found a partner, somebody who wants to invest in his career, and we know DeTulio, a huge talent, a couple of great runs at Mid-Ohio. His first time here in Toronto. The remainder of the season he'll be running, but it's all for him a fact-finding mission. No need to throw the car away, just learn everywhere where he goes.
This is what we'll see at this point of the season, with only the events here in Toronto and in Portland left for USF 2000, USF Pro 2000. If you're considering and looking towards moving up next year, sometimes you'll run an event or two just to sort of get the lay of the land. Okay, these cars are a little bit different, a little more sophisticated. You're trying to learn as much as possible to give yourself that kickstart when you do plan to run a full season next year.
And we saw a couple drivers do that last year. They were in USF 2000. Nikita Johnson, Matt Clark, both USF 2000 drivers last year. There was an event that USF 2000 wasn't at, and that was at the Circuit of the Americas. They both ran there in USF Pro 2000. Clark had a couple of podiums. Nikita Johnson with a victory as well. So good opportunity, as you said, late in the season to potentially get a taste for that next level of the program. There's Van Berlo there in the number 19. Now he's going to go to work getting some tire temp into those Continentals. He's currently down in 14th spot, so watch for Van Berlo to step things up. Nikita Johnson, James Denmark, Lockie Hughes, Simon Sykes, Ricardo Escoto for BN Racing. Now the Mexican in the number 77, he's done it this year as well. He's at the P5 right now, but he's run at least one Indy Next race, a couple Indy Next races already this year. That's where he wants to be full-time in 2025. So Escoto running a couple of races with Hunkos, the Hunkos Hollinger Racing team. Again, 109.973 current provisional pole time, just over 8.5 minutes still remaining here. There's a couple drivers slow on the racetrack, getting themselves, again, up to temperature, get those tires where they need to be. Watch yourself on the opening lap. Don't make the mistake on cold tires, which many drivers have done before.
That's right, and this is everyone trying to get the cars ready for those final couple of laps, the final couple of minutes of this qualifying session. That's Nicholas Montero, who looks like he's trying to find himself a little bit of a gap as well to get the maximum out. This is you've come in, you've made the tire change now, so run a couple of laps, get the heat into the tires, make sure the pressure's where you want, and in the final 5-6 minutes is where we should see the big push.
Not surprising, here we are right now coming into the 10 o'clock hour. We've already seen about a 3 or a 4 degree temperature increase since we started USF 2000 with 67 degrees, about 70 right now, so 3 degrees up, getting a little bit warmer as that sun starts baking its way into the asphalt and cement, the concrete areas here at the track. Again, this track has always been so challenging because of the differing surfaces you'll see, because even though, like we talked about, when you get those concrete barriers put down, they're not always in exactly the same place. A couple of inches, you may not think as a casual fan, a couple of inches are different in an apex where they've had the barriers, but drivers have got this down to an absolute science. And if all of a sudden those barriers are pushed up a little bit more than they were last year, that's when contact happens, because they think they have that muscle memory from the year before. They have to, when they do the track walk on Thursday night, be able to identify those changes.
And even through the weekend, they'll make some small adjustments as well. When I was coming in this morning, there was a little repositioning going on. So again, if there's an opportunity for a little more room, drivers going to look for that and take advantage of it.
And that's why the initial laps in any kind of session, that one lap you get to go around in green, you got to make sure you pick up all your turn-in points, all those reference points you have around the racetrack, because things can change throughout the weekend, as Todd alluded to. There's that manhole cover when they come out of turn number 8. You can see the cars really settle over top of that, working that suspension travel. There's a good shot here to turn number 11. How close are they getting to the wall? Oh, Van Berlo rolled it out there nicely. He's starting to get more comfortable as well. Watch for Glenn Van Berlo to put a lap in here pretty soon. He's currently in the 15th spot. I think we're going to see him step things up here in a bit. 1.4 seconds back for Van Berlo. He was only, far back? He was only 4/10 back in qualifying for race number 1. So I expect him to step things up. Still only one driver into the 109s. And as these 10 tires are up to temp, now you're going to see drivers start laying things down. I will say this. Nikita Johnson, 26 points back coming into the weekend, a bonus point for qualifying on the pole. Cash as well. We already know that Liam McNeely just scored himself $1,000 courtesy of Continental Tire for the pole in USF 2000. $1,500 up for grabs for the pole here in USF Pro 2000. And also a penalty potentially, or a point as potentially for being on the pole. Being told a potential penalty for the number 9, I think, of Montiero. go. So yeah, it's a driver interference penalty for Monteiro against the 18 of Simon Sykes. So indeed, let's just talk briefly, 5.5 minutes still to go. If you're trying to get a gap, or if you're on the racetrack having changed your tires, and you're out there trying to bring the tires up to temp, you've got to stay out of the way.
Absolutely.
You got to pick things up. And Monteiro, obviously, we saw how he was kind of creeping around. A number of drivers had to slow up a little bit. Race control saying, hey, listen, you impeded another driver, you're going to lose your fast lap.
That's the key. It's one thing to try to get another gap, but if you disrupt another driver's quick lap or an attempt at a quick lap, you'll be penalized for that, and Monteiro is going to pay the price right now as we just pass under 5 minutes remaining in this session.
It's something we've been dealing with. Our USF juniors had a mess of a weekend at VIR where they all kind of left the pit lane at the start of qualifying, got out over to, I think, turn 3 or 4, and they all tried to stack up behind Liam McNeely. They do it in karting a lot. I know F1 guys have been doing it lately, but they all kind of stacked up right behind Liam McNeely. They were cruising around at like 40, 50 miles an hour coming down the back straightaway at VIR into the big left-hander. Well, there were drivers in full song who had left early, weren't part of that kind of chaos, and had to check up from 130 miles in the back straightaway. Race control dropped a hammer on that, and it was talked about in the drivers' meeting. You cannot impede somebody in qualifying. If you do, you'll lose your fast lap. Nicholas Monteiro, the first driver to get nailed by that one.
Learning how to drive fast is one thing, but understanding all of the other racetrack etiquette is also part of the learning process.
Van Berlo back into pit lane. He is 16th. Not able to find the pace for Van Berlo. So potentially a tap of the wall here for Van Berlo. So there you go, pushing hard. Very likely, we saw him get wide through turn 8, potentially tapping the wall somewhere else on the racetrack. So Van Berlo has brought that car to pit lane. So the tale of 2 days for Glenn Van Berlo, P5 for race number 1. And if he's done now, it's going to be P16 outside of row 8 for Van Berlo. So it'll be an interesting day for him on Sunday morning when he has to start deeper in the field. There we go, first driver getting some speed out here. Lockie Hughes, point leader for turn 3. Motorsports has gone back to P1, a 109.305. And here comes Nikita Johnson. He'll return the favor, 109.2. 3.5 minutes remaining in the session. Hughes second, Johnson first. Who else has gone into the 109s? Simon Sykes up into third. Jace Denmark into fourth. Frankie Mossman now fifth spot. Liam Skeets in sixth. Alessandro Tullio seventh. Matt Clark in eighth. Cooper Beckle ninth. And Ricardo Escoto in 10th. Danny Jaschelski, pole for race 1, is all the way back with a 110.4. He's over a second off the pace right now.
I was just going to wonder about that. He was quickest yesterday, had the pole for race number 1, which comes up later today, but really has not been able to find speed in this morning's session.
Maybe waiting to the end. Like we said, still 3 minutes to go. Unless they tried something potentially on the car that didn't go the right way. He's a 110.6. Johnson 19.2. In fact, Jaschelski did a 110.6, so everybody else got significantly quicker. He's exactly the same pace right now. He just drops it down to a 110.4. He's up to 12th, but you would have expected a big jump. Nikita Johnson did a 111.4, and he's down to a 109.2. He's 2 seconds faster than he was yesterday, over 2 seconds faster. So the VRD crew dialing that machine in nicely.
That's amazing to see the leaps forward that these teams can make. We talk about short sessions for qualifying. The practice session was only 30 minutes as well, abbreviated a little bit with red flags, but to find that speed, and this is the maturity and professionalism that these drivers, again, to come up to speed so quickly.
Key thing about this weekend, obviously the first time we've been here on Continental tires, so all that information you have for setup on the Cooper tires you can't use. We can't test here. Every other track they go to test, they get a feel for it. Hey, we're going to feel for what the car needs on the Continentals. Here, everybody, listen, you could have rolled off with what you thought would have been the best baseline, and it's just not right? So you're chasing that setup. VRD had a particular setup. They were 11th with Nikita Johnson yesterday. Now they're P1 over 2 seconds faster. Whatever the changes they made, they hit it on the head for sure. Nikita Johnson's P1. He wants his pole position. He's fighting the drivers alongside him right now. Lockie Hughes, there's Sean Rashid getting out of the way of the number 10 of George Garcia-Arce. So a great job for Rashid there to get out of the way. Being told potential tap of the wall for Sean Rashid as well. Out of the way coming out of turn number 8. Here they are coming through turn 8. As I just said here, this is right across the timing line. There's Rashid in the number 32, right behind his teammate. Rashid is going to go to pit lane. So indeed, Sean Rashid's going to put it in the pit lane right now to Johnson. Ricardo Scoto's gone quick. He's up to 5th. Cooper Beckman up to 6th. We get the last minute of qualifying here. I love this shot coming out. There is Simon Sykes about 6 or 7 inches off the wall. There's Jaschelski. Where's he up to now? 9th. All right, so he keeps finding pace, but he's still 8 0.6 of a second off. Danny Dushelski, who's been on the front row for all three races so far this year on a street circuit, was on the front row alongside his teammate Lockie Hughes for both races in St. Petersburg.
And who's got speed at the end? Under half a minute remaining, so everybody's headed for the checkered flag now, trying to get everything they can out of this lap.
These guys here might be able to sneak one more in. Right, that's the key right now, too. Can you get around before the checkered flag comes out? Because 10 seconds remaining, you may get that one more lap. Lockie Hughes back on top, 109.133. Hughes, your point leader, steals it back away. John's going to try to grab it. Where is the checkered flag? These drivers are getting the checker right now. Everybody coming across the screen here will wrap up their session right now. Cooper Becklin goes to P4 out of Portland, Oregon. Up to 4th for Becklin. Dushelski goes up to 6th, but does not get one more lap. So Dushelski P6, so will not be another front row start for Danny D. He is 6th. Escoto 7th. DeTulio up into 8th. But there are drivers, I believe, still on the track, laying down some flyers. Here they come. Here's one of the T-Force cars. Lockie Hughes still on top. Who else do we have to come across the line? Matt Clark currently back in 9th position. DeTulio improves up into 5th for BN Racing. What an excellent qualifying run for Alessandro DeTulio, only his 2nd USF Pro 2000 race. One of his BN teammates coming out, likely Escoto in the 77. We'll see if he goes quicker. 4 drivers going faster on that last lap. DeTulio to 5th, Liam Skeets to 6th, Dushelski up to 8th, and Tyke Durst up into 14th. Man, that was a tight qualifying run. Glenn Van Berlo will start 5th for race number 1. He will be 17th at the tail of the field for race number 2. A tale of 2 days for Glenn Van Berlo, the Dutch driver making his debut here this weekend. But I'll tell you, that is big for Lockie Hughes. That is 4 straight front row starts on the 2 street circuits, a 109.133. He extends his championship lead to 27 points over the driver who will start on the outside of him for race number 2, Nikita Johnson. So Hughes and Johnson on row 1 for Sunday morning. Denmark alongside Cooper Becklin. What a great drive for Cooper Becklin in that qualifying session. He'll go to 4th. Alessandro DeTulio 5th. He'll start alongside Liam Skeets on row 3. Simon Sykes and Danny Dushelski will be on row 4. Ricardo Escoto and Matt Clark on row 5 as Dushelski's pace there moving Escoto and Clark back a couple of spots. Just outside Frankie Mossman 11th. He'll start alongside Nicholas Montiero. George Garcia-Arce and Tyke Durst on row 7. Logan Adams and Sean Rashid on row 8. And Glenn Van Berlo will start at the tail of the field in 17th. Lockie Hughes, though, Todd, an impressive run for him. He and Johnson were just going back and forth. They were just trading haymakers on who was going to qualify on the pole. 109.133, a solid lap there for Lockie Hughes.
And all top 10 qualifiers for race number 2 under the minute 10 mark. It'll be Danny Dushelski and Lockie Hughes later on this afternoon when they take the green for race number 1.
Indeed, folks, 2 races on the docket here for the USF Pro Championships presented by Continental Tire. A great day here, trackside, 71 degrees, folks, and we thank you for tuning in. 12:40 start time for USF 2000 later on today, and then, of course, 4:15 USF Pro 2000 will have their first wheel-to-wheel action of the event this weekend. All part of the Continental Tire Grand Prix of Toronto. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. We'll see you this afternoon for USF 2000 on behalf of Anderson Promotions and Continental Tire. My name is Rob Howden. Bye for now. Contact